asked my brother not to bring his girlfriend to my wedding. My brother Jake has this girlfriend named Becca, who literally cannot stand not being the center of attention for 5 minutes. Every family dinner, every holiday, every gathering, she finds a way to make it about her. Last Thanksgiving, she announced she was pregnant right when my dad was about to carve the turkey. Turns out she wasn't even pregnant, just wanted to see everyone's reactions. So when I was planning my wedding to my fiancé Ryan, I knew I had to do something about the Becca situation. This was going to be my one day, the one day that was supposed to be about me and Ryan starting our life together. I called Jake about 3 months before the wedding. Hey, so about the wedding, I started. I need to ask you something kind of awkward. What's up? He said, and I could hear him eating cereal in the background. I really don't want Becca there. I know that sounds harsh, but she always makes everything about herself, and I just can't deal with that stress on my wedding day. The line went quiet for like 10 seconds. Then Jake exploded. Are you serious right now? You're uninviting my girlfriend from your wedding? I'm not uninviting her because she was never invited in the first place. The invitation was just for you. That's the same thing. We've been together for 2 years. She's basically family. I tried to explain that it wasn't personal, that I just wanted one drama-free day, but Jake wasn't having it. He said if Becca couldn't come, then he wouldn't come either. I told him that was his choice, hoping he'd change his mind. He didn't. But here's where it gets crazy. The day of my wedding, I'm getting my makeup done in the bridal suite when my cousin Madison bursts in. You need to see this, she says, shoving her phone in my face. It's Becca's Instagram story. She's posted like 15 videos of herself getting all dressed up, doing her makeup, picking out jewelry. The caption on the last one says, "Can't wait to celebrate love today," with a bunch of heart emojis, and the location tagged as our wedding venue. My heart drops. She's coming anyway? Madison nods. Jake's outside right now arguing with your dad about it. He says he changed his mind and decided to bring her. I'm standing there in my wedding dress, half my makeup done, and I have to deal with this. So I march outside in my robe and slippers, my hair still in curlers. Jake sees me coming and his face goes red. Before you say anything, no, I cut him off. Absolutely not. I told you 3 months ago she couldn't come. You said you wouldn't come. Now you're both here? Becca steps out from behind Jake wearing this bright red dress that looks exactly like something a bride would wear to her own reception. I'm not even kidding. It had sparkles and everything. I just wanted to support you on your special day, she says in this fake sweet voice. I brought you a gift and everything. Get out, I said. Both of you, right now. Jake starts yelling about how I'm being a bridezilla and how Becca just wants to be supportive. Meanwhile, Becca is taking selfies in front of the wedding decorations. That's when my dad steps in. He grabs Jake by the arm and says, "You made your choice 3 months ago. You can make it again right now. Either she leaves and you stay, or you both leave." Jake looks at me, then at Becca, then back at me. I'm literally holding my breath. He chooses Becca. They both storm off, but not before Becca posts another Instagram story about how some people are just too selfish to share their happiness, while filming our wedding venue in the background. The wedding went perfectly after that. No drama, no attention seeking, no weird announcements during the toasts. Ryan and I had our first dance without worrying about someone trying to cut in or make a scene. But the real kicker? 2 weeks after our wedding, Jake calls me crying. Turns out Becca had been cheating on him with his roommate for like 6 months. She only wanted to come to the wedding because she knew his whole family would be there and she could play the perfect girlfriend one last time before she dumped him. What happened when your stepkids told you weren't their real mother? I had been married to Kevin for 6 years when his 2 daughters from his previous marriage, Emma and Grace, sat me down one afternoon and said the words that made my stomach drop. "You're not our real mom. We don't have to listen to you." I smiled calmly, but inside I broke a little. Emma was 13, Grace was 10, and I had been raising them since they were 7 and 4. Their mom had moved to another state and barely called once a month. I never tried to replace their mother. I cooked their favorite meals every single day. Mac and cheese with the little cartoon shapes for Grace, grilled cheese cut diagonally for Emma. I went to every school play, soccer game, and parent-teacher conference. I made Halloween costumes by hand, staying up until 3 in the morning to get the sequins just right on Grace's mermaid tail. I even sat in the hospital overnight when Emma broke her arm falling off her bike, holding her hand while she cried because their mom was unreachable again. Kevin was out of town for work, and it was just me and Emma in that cold emergency room for 8 hours. But I understood. Kids want their mom, and I wasn't it. That night, I quietly removed myself from their routine. No more waking them up with pancakes shaped like hearts. No more staying up late to help with science projects or math homework. No more braiding Grace's hair before school or listening to Emma practice her presentations. I stopped signing permission slips. I stopped packing their lunches. I stopped asking about their day when they got home from school. 3 weeks later, the house felt colder. Kevin noticed first. "Why didn't Emma have lunch money today?" Her teacher called. I shrugged. Not my kid, not my problem. The girls noticed too, but they didn't say anything at first. Emma had to walk to school twice because I didn't wake her up. Grace wore the same shirt 3 days straight because I stopped doing their laundry, but I didn't say anything. I just watched. Until one night, I was heading to bed when I walked past Emma's bedroom and heard crying. Real, ugly sobbing. I almost kept walking, but something stopped me. I knocked softly. "Emma, go away," she choked out, but I pushed the door open anyway. She was sitting on her bed, holding a piece of paper, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean to find it," she whispered. It was a letter I had written to myself but never sent. Something my therapist had suggested when I was struggling with feeling like an outsider in my own home, a place where I could pour out everything I never dared say out loud. Emma had found it in my desk drawer while looking for tape for a school project. The letter said everything. How hard it was to love kids who didn't love me back. How scared I was of losing them if Kevin and I ever divorced. How I would give anything just to hear one of them call me mom, even once. How I cried in my car after every soccer game when they ran past me to hug their dad, like I was invisible. How I bought them Christmas presents in July because I was so excited to make their holiday special. How I kept a photo of all 3 of us in my wallet, even though they had asked me to crop myself out when they showed it to friends. Emma read every word, and she was crying harder now. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know you felt like that." I sat down next to her on the bed. "You weren't supposed to." to, but we were so mean to you, and you still did everything for us. Grace appeared in the doorway then, having heard the commotion. She looked between us with big eyes. What's wrong with Emma? Emma showed her the letter. Grace climbed onto the bed next to us and read it too, her little fingers tracing the words. When she finished, Grace looked up at me with tears in her own eyes. You really wanted us to call you Mom? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Grace crawled into my lap, something she hadn't done in months. I'm sorry, Mom. Mom. She called me Mom. Emma hugged my arm tight. We're really sorry. We didn't mean it. The next morning, Kevin found all three of us asleep in Emma's bed, still holding each other. When he asked what happened, Emma just said, we figured some things out. That was 2 years ago. They still call me Mom now. And last Mother's Day, they made me a card that said, to our real mom, the one who chose to love us. How did your husband react when you told him you were pregnant? Alex and I met in college, both of us from completely different backgrounds. I'm from India, grew up speaking Hindi at home, while he's this small town guy from Ohio whose idea of exotic food was Taco Bell. When we were dating, he seemed fascinated by my culture. He'd ask me to cook Indian food, loved when I wore traditional clothes, even tried learning a few Hindi words. But after we got married, something shifted. Every time I'd get on the phone with my parents speaking Hindi, he'd make these little comments. I hate feeling left out, he'd say. Or, why can't you just speak English like everyone else here? At first, I brushed it off. Marriage is about compromise, right? But it started eating at me. We talked about having kids before marriage, agreed we'd raise them bilingual, teach them about both cultures. But now I wasn't so sure. When I found out I was pregnant, my first emotion wasn't joy. It was fear. Would Alex try to erase my heritage from our child's life? Would he roll his eyes when I sang lullabies in Hindi? Would he complain when I wanted to teach our kid about Diwali or take them to the temple? I decided to test him, but he had no idea what was coming. For 1 week, I completely immersed our house in my culture. I spoke only Hindi around him, even when he clearly didn't understand. I cooked dal, curry, and roti every single night. I played old Bollywood songs on repeat, the ones my mom used to sing while cooking. I decorated our living room with rangoli patterns and lit incense. The first day he was annoyed. Come on, babe, I had a long day. Can we just watch Netflix and order pizza? But I pretended not to understand, responding only in Hindi. He stormed off to the bedroom. Day 2, he tried harder. He started pointing at things, asking, what's this called? When I taught him pani for water, he repeated it 5 times, messing up the pronunciation each time. We both laughed when he accidentally asked for fish instead of water. By day 3, something changed. He came home from work with a notebook, asking me to write down phrases he could practice. He sat on the kitchen floor while I cooked, trying to roll roti and failing miserably. Flour everywhere, both of us giggling like teenagers. Day 4, he surprised me. He'd downloaded a Hindi learning app during his lunch break. His pronunciation was still terrible, but he managed to say, Main tumse pyar karta hun, I love you. My heart almost melted, but I held my ground. Day 5 was the breakthrough. He came home with ingredients for masala chai, something he'd never shown interest in before. As we made it together, he asked about my childhood, my grandparents, traditions I missed from home. For the first time since we'd gotten married, he wasn't just tolerating my culture, he was embracing it. Day 6, he did something that made me cry. He called my parents via video chat and attempted to greet them in broken Hindi. My dad nearly dropped the phone laughing, but my mom's eyes filled with tears of joy. After hanging up, Alex said, I want to understand where you come from. I want to be part of it. That night, as we lay in bed, he traced patterns on my arm and said, I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to hide who you are. I was just insecure because I felt stupid not understanding. But watching you this week, seeing how happy you were speaking your language, cooking your food, I realized I was the one missing out. The next morning, day 7, I found him in the kitchen attempting to make parathas for breakfast. They looked like abstract art, but he was so proud. That's when I knew he'd passed my test. I sat down next to him, took his floury hands in mine, and said in English, you just passed the most important test of your life. He looked confused. What test? I smiled, my heart pounding. The dad test. I'm pregnant. His face went through every emotion possible in about 3 seconds. Shock, confusion, then pure joy. He picked me up and spun me around, flour flying everywhere. So you basically tricked me into respecting your culture? He asked, laughing. I had to know you'd be the father I want for our child, I said. He kissed my forehead, then knelt down and kissed my still flat belly. Teach me how to say dad in Hindi. Papa, I whispered. He practiced it over and over, and I knew our baby would grow up surrounded by love from both worlds.